Hey, my name is Geoff, and I'm stuck in my house right now. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, hold on for a second. Hello, my name is Geoff, and I'm trapped in my house right now. A couple of days ago, the radio reported something bad happening, and we were trying our best to follow it, but honestly, we didn't think that much of it. We're on vacation. We're just before we go back to school, so I wasn't really thinking of listening to all that, political stuff going on. It was something about riots in some of the southern states from an illness, and nobody really thought it would come here. One of my friends called it a beach disease, so just like stay away from the water. It was like something from some prehistoric animal, or I don't know, something they dug up in Russia from the permafrost, and it would just go away. That stuff never survives. And it sounded bad, I know, but if you were stuck in it, and we saw the images, but I don't know, I guess we just kind of chalked it up to Florida man crap. Well, a little over a day ago, we suddenly lost power and phones here. I thought my parents didn't pay the electric bill. They sometimes forget they even own a vacation home. So I was kind of stuck. You really don't realize how bad everything goes to shit until you're stuck without power. I didn't realize how fast a fridge could warm, and I don't even know when the food goes bad. I'm used to day-old pizza. Well, thankfully the water's still running, but it's on a well, so there's that, and it's still working, so that's a good thing. The rest of the crew with us had gone back to get ready for school, but my friend Paul was still up here, so he came over, and we decided to kind of pool our resources. We had beer in the fridge, and I was thinking, we could pick up at least some chips and stuff, and I guess tell ghost stories. I don't know. Hadn't really thought it through. I mean, it couldn't hurt, right, to figure out what was going on either, so, we headed into town. The road was blocked off by these military guys. They said nobody's coming through. One of the soldiers said it was bad in town, but I guess we weren't supposed to hear that. Something about going house to house and clearing the houses out. The guy that looked like he ran the place came over and asked what we heard, and when I said we didn't hear anything, he asked where we were coming from. Paul, he's a pretty quick thinker, so he said we were from someplace else that we both knew. So I just agreed with him. He said, noticed they said they were clearing out houses, not rescuing people. If there's a sickness like what's going on every place else, they could be basically killing everyone in town and could come find us next. I'm kind of glad now we weren't honest with them. They let us go, so we turned around and headed home. We decided to return to the house and just hold up here. The smartphones died pretty quick. I thought they'd go for at least 8 hours, but they barely lasted 5 or 6. It's not like we could pick up a signal anyway. We had some old jugs, so we filled them up with water just in case. We even had one of those cool testing strips. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. We ended up with 6 jugs of solid fresh water, which, that's pretty cool, right? We kept looking around for any supplies, and I found this recorder, and the batteries were still good. So the original plan was to make something like a diary, but I guess now it's going to be a different plan. I'll get back to that, obviously. We did an inventory of what was in the house, and we had a bunch of canned foods, good deal of matches, other stuff. I have a bunch of logs for an old potbelly stove we have in here. So I'm thinking if we had to stay here for a while, we could cook food if we needed. If it got cold, we could stay warm. I'm thinking we could hold out here until all this blew over. I mean, we had leftover beer, so we're spending the whole time basically having a party and just waiting for a little bit till it all blew over. I mean, what was the most this thing's gonna last anyway, right? I mean, I think I heard something say a few days at most. I don't remember now. I was hoping to find a radio, like a battery powered one, but I didn't have any luck with that. I mean, we are curious about keeping up with like current events, what's going on with this, just in case. But I guess life had other plans. It was a little after the sun started going down, and we were a few beers in. Suddenly, Paul thinks he heard something, and he gets this idea, like bright eyes and everything. It was something he'd forgotten about. He figured he'd check out the noise while grabbing something in his car, and I was like, it's cool. But at the time, I couldn't remember what it was he was looking for. I keep thinking, why don't I pay attention? It doesn't matter now. I don't know what stirred me, but I realized an hour had passed. And I'm not even sure because I think maybe I fell asleep. I don't know. I started calling for him from the couch and he didn't answer. I had a feeling he wasn't in the house, and then I thought the last thing he said was he was going out to his car. But when I looked out the window, I saw them. At first, it like 5 really confused people like hanging around his car. It was very confusing. But as my adrenaline starts pumping, because I realize we're off in the middle of nowhere, my eyes start adjusting, and I realize there's more like 10 of them, maybe even more. Once I got a good look, I realized it was bad. They looked awful. They sick, covered in blood, fumbling around. I really thought they were blind at first, but I still tried my best not to be seen. I snuffed out the lamps that we had going, and I guess they could see that because they stirred, and 2 of them headed towards the house. I hid behind the window. I didn't want to make any sounds. I didn't call for Paul. I was worried. I could see the light was on in the car, but I couldn't see him. And then, I was just hiding, I sat next to the door, what felt like all night, thinking just man up and call out there, I kept hoping I would just sober up. But I couldn't shake that feeling, and every time I would look, they were still there. I finally passed out against the wall below the window next to the coffee table. When I woke up, it was still dark. I looked across the yard and I didn't see anyone. I whispered as loud as I could for Paul, like maybe he just snuck in the house while I was out, but he didn't respond. So I opened the door. I did as slow as I could, try not to make noise. I could see the car door was still open, the interior lights were starting to dim. I whispered for Paul, and of course no response. I decided this was it. I snuck out towards the car. You never really realize how loud gravel can be until you don't want to make noise. But I got to the car. There was blood on the door, on the ground, that seemed to lead to the back of the car. And then I noticed the trunk was open. I really didn't want to look around the back, but I forced myself. There was what looked like innards on the ground. Like someone had gutted a deer, but that was it. Just a gruesome pile of chunder, and still no Paul. I think I know what he was going for there. There in the trunk was this old double-barrel shotgun and a case of bullets too. But that's when I heard it. I guess one of those things had been standing just across the driveway from the car. The second he started to move, I could hear it rustling, the leaves and twigs snapping. I said, shit. I snagged that shotgun and a box of bullets and tried to sneak fast back to the house. But that box wasn't all that sturdy, and it all just started coming out. Creature honed on me pretty quick. I mean, he was coming. Then I heard more movement around him. I'm like, oh shit, there's more. But all I could think was getting in the house. That box just kept coming apart in my hands. I think by the time I got in, I had about four of the rounds still in my grip. So I just jumped through the door and closed it tight. I could still see them coming. They weren't human anymore. Their clothes were shredded, bloody. Parts of them were just missing or hanging off. Once I'd caught that thing's attention, it wasn't going to let up. They knew I was in here, and they were coming. It took them a while to bang in at the door, but I think they realized the window made more sense. It was like they all ganged up on it, and it didn't take many to break through the front glass. I had already headed upstairs knowing that if any of them put any pressure on that glass, that it was going to go. So I'm holed up here in the master bedroom. It took him a while, but he's banging at the door now. I know it won't be long until they're all up here. I can hear them coming up the steps now. One, I think, fell off the banister, probably crushed the dining room table. It's funny how illogical you think in these situations. I'm like, is Dad going to get mad and charge me for the table? How much is a bay window? In an hour, I don't think it's going to matter anymore. I just don't want to go without letting you know what happened to me. This recorder, it's all I got. So, I just want you to know it went out on my terms. Once I'm done recording here, I'm going to head into the master bathroom. I know you're thinking I should fight. Yeah, well, I got 4 rounds in this old thing. It isn't going to do much. I thought about jumping out the house window, but it's pretty high. And if I did end up jumping into those things, what if I broke my leg? It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want. That's not how I want to end things. I did try it out. When I looked out, I saw Paul out there. I'm not going to describe how he looked, but there wasn't any doubt he was one of them. I don't want to go out that way, so I'm going to go out the way I want to. I mean, hopefully it doesn't come to that. I think I have this shotgun loaded right anyway. I just want to say, I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. You guys are great parents, and you gave me a great life. I hope you guys are doing better than me, and if not, I hope you make it through this. To all my friends, have a great life. Get some science degrees and figure this all out for me, you know, kind of like a memorial or something. I don't know. I'm sorry I let everybody down. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. Alright, I gotta go. There's a lot of them coming now, so I'm gonna collect some stuff in here. I'm gonna head into the bathroom. So yeah, I guess this is goodbye. Take all these literary classes, I can't even figure out how to close this thing out. I'll just leave it like this. It's been a funny sort of a day, hasn't it?